So hello everyone, welcome back to Oliveboard Regulatory Bodies, and yes, this is your chapter 2, which is Introduction to Agriculture. Although chapter 2, but we are starting our overall agriculture and rural development syllabus through this particular chapter. We already have seen overview of this particular lecture, how important is ARD and how we are going to navigate through overall this NABARD 2024 course. Okay, we will now begin our session directly with our discussion, and then we will discuss about briefly what is agriculture or maybe basics of agriculture. Let's dig in. So you will see many of the things here written because many of the students would be wanting that the PPT should have clear definitions, clear notes. So that is why you can see little bit information on the PPTs. But don't worry, I am here to explain you all the things in depth. Okay, so I would say keep a copy in your hand, a pen to scribble, and second thing, full concentration just on me, what I am trying to convey, what are the dots I am trying to connect. Is it okay? Let's move forward. So agriculture, meaning and its branches. So when I talk about agriculture, what is agriculture? Can anybody tell what does agriculture means? Agri and culture. What do culture means? Why? See, simple. A simple question when I am asking to most of the students. We all know primary sector activities like manufacturing, industry. We know the tertiary sector activities. We all know the primary sector activities like mining, right? Mining, quarrying. We know secondary sector activities like manufacturing, industries. We know tertiary sector activities like maybe service sector. Okay. All these activities when you are looking at manufacturing, industries, so manufacturing, service, or maybe mining. Only agriculture is that activity in which the word culture is there. Did you thought about it? कभी तो बचपन में आपके एक थॉट आया रहेगा कि व्हाई सी दीज आल्सो आर द एसेंशियल एक्टिविटीज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ associated with primary, secondary and tertiary sectors of economy. Okay, these also are important for our economic growth, contribution, employment, etc, etc. But the point is that these activities which we are looking at, maybe primary, secondary or tertiary, these don't have culture in it. Why agriculture specifically has this word agri and most importantly culture? What I'm trying to convey is that always remember, agriculture, when we are looking at this word, it is made of two combination of words, agri and second is culture. It means that it is that activity which is not only occupational but something more than that. Remember this statement and write it on your copy, that agriculture is not just an occupational activity, or agriculture is not just an employment activity, but rather something more than that. Now what is that more than that? We are going to see in this particular lecture. Everybody thinks first to understand agriculture we should be knowing about the meaning, and second we should be knowing about its branches. So we will first understand the meaning of the agriculture. Okay, so when we are trying to define agriculture, can anybody in the comment section mention what is the definition of agriculture? Where I have already pointed out that, see, it's so beautifully made word, the overall genesis of this word agriculture. Culture, we all know from where this word culture is coming from. We all know, right? So culture is associated with our sociology, from where we are overall, from where we have evolved. Okay, so it has so much of things which are associated. That is why agriculture seems not only just a occupational activity but something more than that. Okay, so when we are defining agriculture, always remember the basic definition is very simple. What is basic definition? Simple. It is cultivation of land. Cultivation. What do you mean by cultivate? Cultivate means nurture, nurturing of land and production of crops. So it's very simple. What does agriculture means? It's very simple. Suppose two people are there. One person is having just a small gallery of 8 by 8 feet. Okay, 8 by 8 feet small gallery in which he is doing plantation in small pots. That is maybe a terrace gardening, or maybe a simple small garden which that person is doing in his home. Okay, that person is also in a particular space or a particular land, it's trying to cultivate something, nurture something. That means he will give that particular space proper soil, proper maybe medium, okay, proper nutrients. This is nothing but cultivation, nurturing. Then he will also try to produce the crops on a regular basis. For example, he will try to cultivate or grow crops such as maybe I am trying to plant in my gallery some roses, some lilies, maybe some other flowers, maybe jasmine, maybe neem, maybe the tulsi, etc. Now I am also trying to cultivate the crops. So cultivate the crops, produce the crops. Now similarly, there is a farmer who is just staying away 1 kilometer, whom I can see from the same gallery away in a farm. Now that particular farmer is doing farming in 2 to 3 acres. In that 2 to 3 acres, he is planting wheat. In monsoon season, he is planting rice. In Rabi season, he is planting wheat. And in Zaid season, that is the summer season, he is planting maybe the cucumber, maybe melons. He is planting that. Now he is doing agriculture as an occupation. Now which of the following is an agriculture activity? Is it the one where I am doing terrace farming in my 8 by 8 feet terrace, or is it the farmer who is doing in his farm, that is 2 to 3 square hectares of land? Both of these cultivation and production of crops activities are called as agriculture. It is not associated with space. It is not associated with trees. It is not associated with any of certain things, but rather it is very simple. The basic definition includes cultivation of land, cultivation, that is nurturing. So anyone, if he asks what is agriculture, then agriculture's formula is very simple. First is cultivation of land plus production of crops. Production of crops. So simple. This is the formula. Write down in your copies. Agriculture is nothing but cultivation of land plus production of crops. That's it. Now you have written this particular formula, which is the basic definition: cultivation of land and production of the crops. Now you can add much more things which can make this definition better. For example, cultivation of land and production of the crops are for regular supply of foods and other needs for the progress of nation. For example, this terrace farming, whatever I am doing, or terrace cropping I am doing, here gardening, whatever I am doing, maybe I am not selling those flowers in the overall economy. I am not going to market and selling my jasmine flowers. Only if I am having 2 plants, how much flowers I will have? But still, it would be also counted in your overall contribution to the economy. This shows you that overall cultivation of land and production of the crops, and whatever regular production will happen of that particular food crop, flower crop, vegetable crop, fruits crop, whatever crop it is, fiber crop, oil seed crop, that if it is contributing directly, indirectly, maybe through large numbers, maybe through even 0 numbers, but it actually essentially contributes to the progress of the nation, then that would be called as agriculture. I hope that we understand the definition very easily. What does agriculture means? Cultivation of land and production of the crops on a regular basis, which contributes to the progress of nation. Very simple. Now, agriculture, when we are trying to see it as an branch of particular subjects, at that time it is nothing but art also, science also, and business also of producing crops and livestock for economic purposes. So when we are talking about agriculture from an subjective point, subjective in the sense there are different subjects which we learn, geography, history. When you try to learn agriculture from such literary aspect, at that time agriculture is not just an art, agriculture is not just a science, not just a business. It is combination of all 3 of this. When crop production is done, along with the crop production, allied activities are done. What are allied activities? Allied activities are nothing but animal husbandry. For example, I am a farmer. I am doing rice cultivation in my crops. I am having 2 cows from which I do my dairy business also. I am having 2-3 hens through which I am doing poultry business also. I am having some fishes in my particular fish tank. From those fishes I sell them in market. I am doing fisheries also. I have three, four deodar trees. I'm doing forestry also. Apart from agriculture, that is food crop cultivation, whatever activities are considered under cultivation of crops as well as under the agricultural activities which also contribute to the economy, like livestock cultivation, animal husbandry, poultry, apiculture, silviculture and whatnot. All these are allied activities. Agriculture is nothing but combination of cultivation of crops and such allied activities which falls as a art also. Now why it is called as art? Look in the map of India. So look in the map of India. When I am trying to teach you, look in the map of India. When I am trying to look at the Indian map, why only tea is famous from Assam? Why sugarcane is grown only highest in Uttar Pradesh? Why are horticulture crops famous from Himachal Pradesh? Right? Why are oranges famous from Nagpur? Why is jackfruit fruit famous from Kerala or coconuts? Why is Alfonso mango famous from Konkan coast? Why are oilseeds famous from Madhya Pradesh? Why is cotton cultivation done in Gujarat only and Maharashtra? In this way, now you will understand that certain areas in India or certain states or certain region in India, they are very capable of cultivating certain crops very efficiently, and also they cultivate in such a way that they are able to earn good amount of money or good amount of remuneration also through their agricultural cultivation. We all have heard through newspaper that agriculture is not profitable, farmers are suffering a lot, almost more than 75% of rural families dependent on agriculture, but yet the overall contribution to the GDP of the nation is less than 50%. How come agricultural crisis is not a big important issue? The point is that agriculture had shown its profitability overall India in some of the pockets in the agricultural domain. There are certain pockets which also shows you the failure of agriculture. Most probable reasons are climatic situations, then comes drought, then comes insect attack or pest attack, then comes overall failure of monsoon or invariable monsoon, specifically either late onset or early retreat. These are some of the problems which associate with agriculture. But still, in spite of these all problems, we have seen that there are certain pockets in India and regions which have successfully cultivated different agriculture and found their different niche of crops. Now, why this happens? This happens because agriculture is an art. So, if you see the different types of cultivation, maybe the zero sea level cultivation from Kerala of rice cultivation, okay, maybe zero budget natural farming which comes from the Khed or maybe overall Raigad district from Maharashtra, maybe the terrace farming which is famous from northeast, maybe the dryland farming from Rajasthan and Gujarat, Saurashtra region, maybe the coastal farming or mangrove farming which is seen in the both eastern and western coasts, okay, maybe the overall oilseed farming which happens in the central India. In this way, there are different agricultural practices which are followed. There are different techniques, there are different methodologies which are easily followed, and this shows that even take example of Maharashtra. There is also a city very close to Ahmednagar, okay, which is called as Hivre Bazar, and Hivre Bazar is such first rural town in India or in world which has every farmer who is crorepati. Now, how come just one village close to Ahmednagar, one village is having so much of farmers who are rich, but just go 200 kilometers to the northwest section, you will see that Marathwada, okay, you will see that Vidarbha region starts, and we all know that how Vidarbha and Marathwada farming crisis is there. Major farmers do suicides. According to NCRB, every 3 seconds, one farmer do suicide in this Vidarbha and Marathwada region. How come just after 200 kilometers you reach to a village, Hivre Bazar, where every farmer is crorepati? This shows you that there are certain agricultural practices, techniques, and doing agriculture along with other activities which can make your agriculture profitable, and that is why it is an art. Not everybody would be knowing how to do agriculture smartly, right? Second, science. Agriculture is not a random thing or random occupational activity to cultivate. You cannot wake up one day or in one season randomly decide a particular crop and do it. It is a scientific footstep method in which principles are used, theologies are used, then other than that theoretical laws are used, then experiments are done. Along with that, when you are looking at, when all these things are culminated together, technology is used, and this makes agriculture one of the most advanced scientific practical subjects on the face of this planet. Agriculture is not just a theoretical subject, and neither it is a practical subject. It is combination of both. You learn from the theory, you learn from the overall principles, you learn from the experimentation, and you apply them on the grassroots level. This is what agriculture is, and this makes it science. Then comes business. Nothing has value if you are not getting enough amount of money out of that particular occupational activity. The main agenda and objective of any agricultural activity should be to make it profitable and to generate more revenue. So when you are looking at business, it is how you are making your agricultural occupation more commercial. That is, taking the overall produce to the markets and making and building commerce over that. So that makes agriculture a combination of art, science, and business. Next thing, the practice of doing such agriculture, that is art, science, business of overall producing crops and allied activities. Then cultivation of land and production of the crop in such a way on regular basis that it contributes to the progress of nation. Doing this all agricultural practice, this is also known as farming. So doing or following such practice of agriculture is also called as farming. So in this way, now I hope that you understand what is agriculture or maybe what is farming. Now let us look at a factual definition of agriculture. Factual, let's see. Agriculture is defined by Agriculture Act of 1974. So little bit factual definition, but here also I will give you some tricks. Agriculture, according to Agriculture Act 1947, is nothing but it has different branches under it. It includes horticulture, which is nothing but growing fruits, seed growing, dairy farming, livestock breeding and keeping, use of land, grazing land, meadow land, osier land, market gardens, nursery grounds, and using land, woodland, and all these ancillary activities combined with the farming of the land. And when farming comes, automatically cultivation of crop comes. So how to remember this now? So according to the Agriculture Act of 1947, try to break down your agricultural definition. According to the Agricultural Act of 1947, listen and try to write it down. Agriculture is nothing but combination of horticulture, combination of dairy farming, combination of animal husbandry and livestock, combination of different grazing practices, combination of different land and soil conservation practices, agronomical practices, okay, combined with the farming of land, which includes cultivation and production of the crops which contributes to the nation's GDP. That togetherly it's called as agriculture. So this definition is really very, very good. So your main definition of agriculture is cultivation and production of crops which contributes to the progress of nation. When you add this to the all the ancillary activities and you state ancillary activities. What are the ancillary activities one by one? That is nothing but definition according to Agriculture Act of 1947. Now we will be looking at the branches of agriculture. So when I'm talking about branches of agriculture, there are total, if you see the branches of agriculture, they are categorized based on the definition only. What was the definition? Simple. First was the crop production, cultivation of land and production of crops. And second was overall ancillary activities. In ancillary activities, those ancillary activities are broken down into, one is main, that is animal husbandry or animal rearing, and second is other allied activities. So branches of agriculture can be broken down into crop production, animal rearing and allied activities. Under crop production, agronomy, horticulture. It can be also broken down into, for example, olericulture. Horticulture is nothing but about fruits, vegetables, right? Pomology. Then comes floriculture. This is nothing but olericulture, pomology and floriculture are sub-branches of horticulture only. So crop cultivation or crop production, agronomy is the main branch or main sub-branch of agriculture. Agronomy is nothing but scientific way of doing agriculture, and it is way in which multiple factors associated with agriculture are taken, considered, and agricultural improvement is done in agricultural practices. Horticulture is nothing but when cultivation of horti and culture. Hortus means garden. Garden cultivation or garden culture. Culture is nothing but cultivation. So horticulture, this is nothing but, horti means garden. So in garden, what are the crops which you can grow? Vegetable, fruit, flower, right? So this is broken down olericulture into vegetable, pomology means nothing but fruits, and floriculture means flowers. Animal rearing can be broken down into animal husbandry first. Second is aquaculture. Rather than aquaculture, I would say here, you can write here fisheries, because that aquaculture, fisheries can be further broken down into freshwater aquaculture, inland aquaculture, marine aquaculture, in such a way. Then allied activities, in which agriculture, engineering, forestry, home sciences. In this way, these are the sub branches of agriculture. I hope you understood all the branches, as these are very visible and you can understand them. Now we'll see one by one all of these agricultural branches and we will try to understand them. So already told you, crop production, animal rearing, allied activity, and each we are breaking down. For example, agronomy. What do you mean by agronomy? Agro and nomy. Agro means nothing but crop production or crop cultivation, and nomy is nothing but study. Am I right? So whenever you are doing cultivation of crops or production of crops and you are looking after the study of that, then that is called as agronomy. Whenever crop production and field management is there, that is called as agronomy. So whenever agronomy is there, agronomy is nothing but is equal to crop production plus field management. Is it okay? Then comes horticulture. Horticulture is nothing but hortus cultivation. Hortus garden, garden cultivation. Animal husbandry is nothing but livestock. Livestock, what do you mean by livestock? It is nothing but when animals are reared for their particular goods and products. For example, you are having hens with you. You rear the hens. You give them food so that you can sell them for meat and eggs. That is called as poultry. Aquaculture or fisheries, where you are cultivating, rearing fishes. Agriculture engineering, to find the technology and scientific solutions to the agricultural traditional problems. Forestry, cultivation of perennial trees. There are certain hardwood trees which are different from the crops, that is fleshy vegetative growth. Hardwood trees. Growing these hardwood trees, which are also grown not from season, but it requires more than a year. Such perennial in the sense, probably those particular crops which require more than 2 to 3 years to grow. These cultivation of perennial trees would be called as forestry. And then comes home sciences, which is nothing but combination of health, diet and other subjects which are related in your household. Then, now let us talk about agronomy. Agro and nomo. We all know what does agro means? Agro is nothing but crops which are cultivated in a piece of land which can be culminated into field. Agro means nothing but field. What is a field? What is the difference between a field and a land patch? What is the difference between a field and a land patch? Field is nothing but when cultivation and nurturing of soil is done. Overall tillage is done. Tillage is nothing but breaking down complex hard soil into soft, luscious soil, adding water, adding nutrients. This is nothing but field. So therefore, cultivation and production or cultivation of land, that gives you agro. That is why it is field, not a random land of patch of land or land patch. Nomos means to manage. So whenever you are managing cultivation and production of the crops in the field, that is called as agronomy, as simple as that. Agronomos. Nomos means to manage. To manage. So when we look at agricultural definition, it talks very generalistic definition of cultivation of land and production of the crops. But there are various factors which are associated with cultivation of land, various factors which are associated with production of crops. These factors include climate, pests, resources like electricity, water, soil, nutrients. These all factors should be brought together on that particular field. These all factors should help that particular crop to grow. That's why agronomy comes into the picture. Agronomy is nothing but that agricultural science, as I already told you, it is a science. Okay, it is methodological practice. Agronomy, and difference between agriculture and agronomy. What is difference between agriculture and agronomy? Agronomy is more scientific and methodological practice. It is an agricultural science. Okay, it deals with principles. It brings various principles which are textual. It brings various methodologies, practices which are already researched. It is practices of the crop production and field management. Field management which brings multiple resources on that field which help the overall growth of crops. And that is called as agronomy. It is also the branch of agricultural science which deals with principles, practices of soil, water and crop management. Whenever agronomy comes in front of you, you should only remember two words. Agronomy is equal to crop and field management. Is it clear? Agronomy is nothing but crop and field management. Next, horticulture, that is hortus cultura gives horticulture. Horticulture is the branch of agriculture which deals with fruit crops. So generally garden cultivation, in garden only those plants can be cultivated, those crops can be cultivated which are very short duration, which requires less space to grow. So vegetables, fruits, flowers. So cultivation of fruit crops, vegetable crops, ornamental plants. Which are ornamental plants? Ornamental plants are those which are very beautifying crops. Maybe flowers, okay? Maybe flowers like dandelions, maybe some creepers, okay? Then comes commercial flowers like marigold, commercial flowers like rose, lilies. Medicinal crops like adulsa, medicinal crops like tulsi, okay? Aromatic crops which give you smell. For example, champa, zai, zui, these are the flowers. Spices crops are nothing but cardamom, pepper, these crops. Plantation crops, which include either banana, which include betel nut, which include various other plantation crops, coconut, then it comes to even your pineapple, okay? These are your plantation crops. Tobacco, okay, that is also plantation crop. Coconut, individual trees, shrubs, climbers, post-harvest management and processing. Generally, if you want to remember or define horticulture, it is nothing but garden cultivation plus processing. Now, why I am adding processing here? Because garden cultivation, you all will remember, garden cultivation is done of which crops? Vegetable, fruit, aromatic crops, flowers. Look at the shelf life of these crops. It's very less. Within 2 to 3 days, your apple will get spoiled. Within 2 to 3 days, your banana will get spoiled. That is why in horticulture, processing is also very, very important. So try to get this idea. Garden cultivation along with processing. It is again divided into 8 types. Now it is very essential. First is pomology, which is nothing but production and marketing of fruits. So when pomo, P-O-M-O, pomo is nothing but scientifically which says fruits. So whenever pomology comes, it is associated with fruits. Viticulture. Viticulture. Viti is nothing but related to wines. And wines are always wine in the sense green color wine. Okay. Wine of grape. It is said now wine of grape. Okay. The creeper, that of grape. That wine is of grape, and that is why viticulture, grapes. Arboriculture. What do you mean by arboriculture? It is nothing but selection, plantation, care, removal of individual trees, vines and other perennial wood plants. So remember, those tall trees which are neither in forests but rather you can grow it in very small area, that would be coming into arboriculture. Arboriculture, where combination of forestry crops along with the other horticultural crops. So arboriculture is nothing but combination of horticulture plus forestry. So if anyone asks you that what is arboriculture, then you should be able to tell that when I will be planting in a particular land trees, then I'll be planting some horticultural crop, then I'll be planting some trees, then I'll be planting some trees, then again I'll be planting some horticultural crop. So in this way, alternately or maybe in particular combination, you will be planting horticulture along with forestry. That is called your arboriculture. Then comes floriculture, which is nothing but related to your flowers. Then comes landscape horticulture. When horticultural crops like vegetables, flowers, fruits are grown over long patch of land, okay, with the development of plantation or maybe even ornamental plants, by arranging in such a manner that overall landscape beautification happens. Landscape is beautified. So whenever, for example, not 1-2 acres, but 20, 30, 50 acres of land in which you are just planting flowers, blue color flowers. So you will see that the whole land is blue colored. Such type of cultivation of horticulture on an long piece of land or very lengthy piece of land for beautification purpose, that is called as landscape horticulture. Olivculture is nothing but the science of growing the vegetables. Okay. Then vegetables, not only just talking about vegetables, but also non-woody herbaceous plants. What do you mean by non-woody herbaceous plant? Which are luscious and green. Okay. If you are growing any luscious green plant, it will fall into olivculture. Okay. Example, carrot, asparagus, lettuce, cauliflower, tomatoes, peas. So it is important to distinguish between what are fruits, what are vegetables. Okay. Next, oenology. It is nothing but all the aspects of making wine and wine making. Okay. And post-harvest management is nothing but, as the horticultural crops, the overall shelf life is less, thinking about different activities through which you can maintain and manage the quality and prevent the spoilage of the horticultural crops. Then we move to the next part, that is the important part of livestock, animal husbandry. Animal is nothing but any domesticated animal or any animal which can be domesticated, right? Which can be also called as livestock. What do you mean by livestock? Break down the word. Live, that means it's a living being, and from that living being you are harboring some products. That living being, you are providing shelter, food, and in return that living being is providing you certain goods. For the cow and some of the buffaloes, you are providing shelter, you are providing food, you are providing the overall protection. Then that particular cow, buffalo, is providing you milk, it's providing you calf, it's also contributing in your agricultural labor, right? In this way, that is called as livestock, where you are providing shelter and food to a particular living animal, you are harboring him, and that animal is giving goods in return for your harboring activity. Animal husbandry is the branch of agriculture concerned with animals that are raised for either meat, fiber, milk, eggs, and other products. It includes also day-to-day care, selective breeding, and raising livestock. In animal husbandry, it extends from cattle cultivation or maybe your overall dairy cultivation, which includes buffalo, cow, goat cultivation, sheep cultivation, then swine husbandry or swine cultivation, poultry, okay, then even your emu cultivation. These are some of the animals which are cultivated in India also, okay. Then aquaculture. Aquaculture, when we are talking about, it is nothing but cultivating fishes for meat purposes, okay. Now when we are talking about aquaculture, I would essentially say that I already told you, let's call this fisheries. Fisheries is nothing but, okay, overall fisheries or fisheries science, it's study of freshwater in the sense where the water is not salty, it's freshwater, inland freshwater. Marine is nothing but ocean or sea water. And estuarine aquatic system, estuarine is nothing but a mix of both, okay. All these three water systems and the fishes which are involved in these three water systems, their study and their cultivation, that is called as fisheries science. When you are looking at it, overall understanding and cultivating the stock either naturally or artificially, then breeding these fishes from freshwater, marine water and estuarine. After breeding, getting their young ones and overall growing and developing them, and then selling those, that includes in your overall fisheries science. Today overall the shrimp cultivation, okay, tuna cultivation, prawn farming, these are the practices which are done under the science of fisheries, okay. Next, forestry. We all know that in India, how much percentage overall land is covered by forest? According to State Forest Report of 2021, latest report tells us that only 21 or 24% is covered by forests. This shows you, if you consider rural areas, then major of the rural areas, agricultural land, it's coincided by the forest. As the State Forest Report says that 33% of the land should be covered by forests, but now only 24% land is covered. Our aim is to plant as much as forest and hardwood trees as possible. Considering that forestry is very, very important, the rural areas and towns are always covered by the associated forests. The forest word comes from the French word wooded country. These are long wooded perennial, that means long trees which grow more than 2 years, maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And when you are doing cultivation of that in a particular pattern, that is felling of the trees, then growing of the trees, then cutting of the trees, then again planting of the trees, then again felling of the trees, this cyclic crop production of forest, that is called as forestry, okay. Examples could be wood, examples could be deodar, cheer, okay, baboon, etc. Now, why forestry is done or forest cultivation is done? Either for wood, either for timber, sandalwood, red sandalwood, I hope that you have even seen the movies to understand the importance of these forest trees. Okay. Then comes rubber. These are the essential products which you get out of these perennial wood systems. Then comes agricultural engineering. There are various problems in agriculture, not only in India, but throughout the world. It may be the low fertility of soil. It may be the desertification. It may be the climate resilient situations, the climate change. It may be the unavailability of water. It may be toxicity of soil, of minerals. It may be attacks of insects. Not all these problems which are natural could be fought in natural ways. We require scientific interventions in each of these problems, and for that we are having agricultural engineering. It is nothing but how engineering is involved with the design of farm machinery, how soil management, land development, mechanization, automation and various efficient planting, harvesting, storage and processing methodologies can help you to solve complicated farming problems. I hope you understand. Then comes last, home sciences. When we talk about home sciences, it is nothing but it is a multidisciplinary study that deals with overall the products of agriculture, food, how that food affects your health, affects your overall individuals in the family from child to old age parents, how crops are useful to the society and individuals in form of shelter from textiles, garments, then providing other shelter to through the forests, okay, how they are useful as resources. All this comes in the home sciences. That in the daily household, how does forest and agriculture helps you in making your life easy. Other branches of agriculture. First is agricultural engineering. So agricultural engineering, when we are talking about, it is nothing but, as we have already seen, application of principle, knowledge, technique, scientific intervention to solve agricultural traditional problems. Soil sciences, it is nothing but study of the soil, the surface of the soil, soil formation, classification, mapping, then overall assessment of the soil, improving the fertility of soil. We all know that the basic thing for a crop cultivation and growth of the crop, what are these? First is the soil. It is the foundation of crop growth. And then comes resources. In these resources, micronutrients, macronutrients and water, sunlight. These are the essential resources of which soil becomes the main foundation. Next, plant pathology. Understanding the insect attacks, understanding the diseases which are associated with the particular crop. Why there are black spots on your mango, right? So in these ways, branch of agricultural science which deals with the causes of disease, solutions to do these disease, to prevent the disorders in plants, management of crop disease and pests, that is called as plant pathology. Entomology is nothing but when branch of agriculture is dealt with controlling the pest attack, either through insect or either through pest. What is the difference between insect and pest? In the comment section, please tell me. Very simple. Pest, insect. Difference क्या है? बताओ जरा. Soil microbiology is associated with looking and studying the overall living beings in the soil. Entomology is associated with insect and pest which attacks the crop. Why do they attack? How to prevent that attack? What is the solution? That's it. And then comes extension education, when agricultural overall activity is not just seen as an occupational activity, but rather agricultural extension is seen as a behavioral science, where through knowledge, through awareness, through education, we can transform agricultural activity into something better by teaching new principles, by demonstrating new technology. That is what extension education is. When we are talking about allied activities now, because we completed overall branches of agriculture under crop cultivation and production, we also covered animal husbandry also. Now we will see other allied activities. The first allied activity is apiculture. it is nothing but study of beekeeping and honey production. Sericulture, it is nothing but study of silkworm, which is scientific name of silkworm is Bombyx mori. It is NABARD 2021 previous year question, scientific name of silkworm. So whenever I'll be teaching with you and I'll be drawing such star, that would be previous year question. Okay. So domestication of such Bombyx mori, that is silkworm, and silk production through which silk textiles are produced, that is called as silk production. Lac culture is nothing but which deals with lac insect, which is called as Laccifer lacca. Its domestication and lac production. Lac is also nothing but a material through which different products can be produced. Okay, these three are important allied activities. Now let us go through important factual concepts or factual things which are very important in our chapter number 1. First is the different revolutions in agriculture. First is different revolution in agriculture. First is different revolutions in agriculture. First is protein revolution. What is protein revolution? This was coined by Pradhan Mantri, okay, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Protein revolution is associated with the technological driving of second green revolution towards higher production of protein crops, which includes oilseeds, pulses, etc. Yellow revolution is associated with oilseed production, especially mustard and sunflower. The person associated is Sam Pitroda. Also remember this factual data. They can ask you anything, but these are NABARD related data which are very important. Black revolution is associated with petroleum products. Blue revolution is associated with fish production, and the person associated with is Arun Krishnan. Brown revolution is associated with leather, cocoa and non-conventional products. Gold revolution or fiber revolution is associated with jute. Golden revolution is associated with fruits, honey production and horticultural development. And Nirpak Tutej is a person who is associated with the golden revolution. Pink revolution is associated with onion and pharmaceutical products along with prawn production. The person associated with Durgesh Patel. Evergreen revolution is the next step of green revolution, but evergreen revolution stresses on sustainable agricultural practices. It has been started in the 11th 5-year plan. Overall production of agriculture through sustainable and climate resilient production. Silver revolution is associated with poultry and eggs. Person associated is Indira Gandhi. Silver fiber production is associated with cotton. Red revolution is associated with tomato and meat. Vishal Tiwari is the person associated. Green revolution is associated with food grains. It started from 1969 and overall it briefly stayed till 2002. It is associated with Norman Borlaug, who is father of green revolution in the world, and father of Indian green revolution is M.S. Swaminathan. White revolution is associated with milk production, which started in 1991 and it ended in 2001 or 1998 even we can say. The father of milk revolution or white revolution is Varghese Kurian. Then some of the important parts, that is, as we are revising definition of agriculture, simple process of producing food, feed, fiber and many other desired products by cultivation of certain plants and raising domesticated animals and livestock. Agriculture, if they are broken down into two parts, agar or agri is nothing but soil and cultura is nothing but cultivation. So cultivation of land and production of crops, simple, the formula doesn't change. Here you can write anything, the formula cultivation of land plus production of crops. Is it cool? Importance of agriculture in India. Now some facts. Major source of revenue in India is agriculture. 1/5 of the country's GDP. It is responsible for 1/5 of country's GDP. Share, if you see, of agriculture according to the year of 2021-2022 is 18.8%. Just let me know what is its share in 2024. Can anybody tell? Come on guys, tell me. Come on, let's see. Come on guys, quickly. So again, this is a star. This is a previous year question which was asked in the year of 2021 and 2022. That is why here the statement has been written. You will be thinking that why sir has written old year, because this is a previous year question of the year of 2021. Now what is your task? Simple. For the year of 2024, this year, or 2023-2024, if you don't have the data of this year, you need to know what is the contribution of agriculture in terms of GDP and in terms of GVA, gross value added and gross domestic product. So overall, if you see the nation, if you see, okay, overall the employment also we should be knowing that how much overall population is dependent on agriculture for employment, how much is the agricultural contribution in terms of GDP and GVA for that particular year. If you don't have the data of 2024, you can have the data of 2023-2024. Salient features of agriculture when we are looking at, first, very simple, subsistence agriculture. What do you mean by subsistence agriculture? Major of Indian rural agricultural occupation, if you see, that is done for self-consumption. What do you mean by self-consumption? I am a farmer, I have 5 acres of land, I am having my one elder son and one younger daughter and my wife. I am doing cultivation of rice, wheat, bajra and some of the vegetables, but I am doing that cultivation only for my self-consumption. I am not selling it into the market. So major of the rural agricultural production is subsistence agriculture, which is only for self-consumption, not traded into the market. Pressure of population on agriculture. When we are looking at the recent population data, where recently we have even increased the population as that extent that now China is behind us. Considering that, it puts a lot of stress of food production for the overall population on the agriculture. When we are looking at, we need 3 times the food on our plates, isn't it? So that's how the pressure is there, and the land is limited. The people who are doing agriculture or who are vested in the agricultural occupation are decreasing day by day. In 1947, the overall contribution to the Indian agricultural occupation was 74%, and today it is less than 49%. It shows you that overall people are transitioning from agricultural activity to service sector, to manufacturing sector, to industrial sector, but the overall requirement and the need of agricultural produce is increasing because of the pressure of population. This is a paradox which has to be solved. Second, mechanization of farming, it's very essential. Where fragmentation of land is there. What is fragmentation? Simple. The division of the land through the overall lineage, or from one generation to other. The division of the land from 10 acres between 2 sons, it becomes 5 acre and 5 acre. Then next generation it becomes 2.5. Next generation it becomes 1 acre, 1 acre. Then it becomes less than 1 acre. So within 4 generations, from 10 acre of land it became 1 acre. This is fragmentation of land. More the land gets fragmented, difficult it is to operate under mechanization. So that is why we need to solve this problem of fragmentation. Dependence on monsoon. Almost more than 70 to 80% of Indian agricultural area, it's totally dependent on monsoon for irrigation, right? That is irrigation through rainfall. This makes your agriculture at so much high risk because of the invariability, because of the because of the late onset, early retreat. This creates less availability of water and in turn affecting your production. Variety of crops. Although there are variety of crops, it has been a pattern after Green Revolution that only those crops which are having high remuneration and market value are grown. This also finishes overall reserves of the nutrients in the soil, and at the same time excess use of chemical fertilizers in hope of increasing the profitability damages the long-term availability of the crops as well as fertility of the soil. Predominance of food crops, that's where the Green Revolution has taken up. Earlier, pulses, oilseeds, these crops also well grown, but because of Green Revolution, as rice, wheat, high-yielding variety seeds were available, today if you see, our food basket is actually imbalanced, where in our food basket, pulses, then oilseeds, fruits, vegetables, these are very less. Rather than that, cereal crops and food crops are grown in larger proportion because their market demand and market remuneration as well as pricing is better than the rest of the crops. Seasonal patterns. As India has 3 seasons, monsoon, rabi and zaid. Each of this season is suitable for particular crop, but because of the profitability and available technology, it has been also seen that most of the farmers always go for commercial cropping only. This has to be changed and cropping has to be done according to seasonal patterns. Major challenges which are faced by Indian agriculture, again, stagnation in the production of major crops. As I told you, as most of the agricultural farmers or overall farming in agriculture is dependent on food crops, we ignore the other major crops. High cost of farm inputs. Considering all the resources, the most important thing which is responsible for the Indian agricultural population going into other sectors for the employability is nothing but profitability and viability of agriculture. What do you mean by viability? When you are doing particular occupation, it should provide revenue and profits to you. When the activity becomes loss making, that becomes a inviable activity. The agricultural practices, because of the high farm inputs, maybe high costs of irrigation, high costs of fertilizer, okay, this makes overall agricultural cultivation practices expensive. And overall, when farmers are not having enough capital to put in as an input measure in their farming, they have to go and take debts. When they take debts from the informal sector, automatically they fall into debt trap, and this creates a real high cost on the farm inputs, which makes their overall agricultural cycles and farming practices into inviable practices. Soil exhaustion. Continuous agricultural practices and continuous cultivation of food crops season after season, this finishes or quenches the nutrient availability in the soil. This also makes the fertility in the long term redundant. Depletion of fresh groundwater. When fresh groundwater is considered, whenever agriculture, if you are looking at in almost North India, the major source of water is groundwater. When you look at the Gangetic plains for sugarcane cultivation, rice cultivation throughout Uttar Pradesh, and then overall Gangetic plain towards West Bengal, the real irrigational source is nothing but groundwater. It has been seen from 1947 and majorly after Green Revolution that almost more than 60% of groundwater has been quenched or drained for the agricultural activities, which has now put the pressure on the North Indian belt of cultivation. Adverse impact of global climate change. With temperature increasing, sea level rising, the climate changing and the transition is such that abnormal heat, temperature and overall rainfall and precipitation conditions are there. It is very important that our agricultural practices should be sustainable and climate resilient. Impact of globalization. Where we have seen that globalization will always ask you certain crops which are important and which are having high value. Maybe avocados, which we have seen one piece of avocado is 300 rupees. Whereas the other crops like onion, tomato, sometimes they are 180 rupees and sometimes they even just fall into the market at 20 rupees. This shows you that how market forces are dominant and not agricultural forces are dominant for the pricing of the crops. Second, providing food security. It's very essential that considering Food Security Act of of 2012, Food Security Act says that it is very important that all the population in the country, even it may be below poverty or above poverty, they should have minimum food security with them. For food security through targeted public distribution system or public distribution system PDS, agriculture connects to the food security of the country. And last is farmer suicide, which shows you that how unavailability of resources, unavailability of proper financing, the inviable agricultural practices makes farmers have no solution other than suicides. They cannot get out of the debt traps and they are not able to do farming in profitable way. So these all are the problems and we need to find solution of these particular problems. Now in your notes, important events in agriculture, institution and important dates also have been given. All this is factual data. I would request you that you read and go through this data. It will help you a lot. So look at it, all the important events have been given. For example, 1936 what happened? 1965 to 67, Green Revolution, first time introduction of high yielding variety seeds, short plants of wheat, rice were used. This laid the foundation of starting of Green Revolution in the country. When was NABARD established? 1982. When was Kisan call center started? 2004. Okay. In this way you can read this axis information. Now mind you, this is also very important, so make sure you read this terminologies, you read this important other parts which are given in your overall notes. All these other things which are given, these are accessory information which you can go through. Most of the things we have covered. Okay. Other than this, the years which we are talking about, for example, important dates, institution has been already given. You can go and read this. Thank you very much and see you next time, and we will come with the chapter number 3 tomorrow and we'll see you next time. Okay. If you have not checked out the NABARD Grade A 2024 course, go and check it now on our website.